Hello friends, it's Vervain. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you a tarot reading for the collective, which includes you, my friend, for the new moon in Gemini, or for Gemini season in general. And I'll also be sharing how you can do this spread for yourself if you want to do your own reading. Now, this spread is inspired by the energy of Gemini season and the new moon in Gemini, but that doesn't mean that you can't do this any other time of year, or that this reading isn't valid for you whenever you happen to stumble upon it. Everything in divine timing, right? So if you've stumbled upon this now and it's the complete other end of the year, that's just fine. And take what resonates with you and leave the rest. Gemini is ruled by air, communication, curiosity, and duality. And the card in the tarot that represents the sign of Gemini is the Lovers. So that has kind of inspired me to bring out the Tarot of Aphrodite today. So that is what I have to work with. And you'll see that Lovers energy reflected in the spread as well as we do this reading. So let me pull out these cards. And since the energy of this season is so much about duality and connection and creating and finding the connections and opening up the lines of communication between forces that may seem opposed, but that need to be harmonized or maybe more powerful in harmony. And much like Gemini is the divine twins, represented by the Lovers card, you can do this with runes as well. I did not bring my runes today, but you can absolutely do this with runes as well. And we're going to use a significator for this. So in tarot, the significator that I'm going to use is going to be the Lovers. And there are a couple ways that you can switch this up differently if you're going to do this for yourself, and I'll explain that at the end of the video. If you were going to do this with runes, the significator would be Ewaz instead, which is the one that looks like an M. And that actually represents the divine twins as well, which you can read about in my book, Modern Runes, should you desire to do so. So I'm just going to shuffle one or two more times. The way this is going to work is I am going to, instead of shuffling and then like pulling cards, quote unquote randomly, or until I get a jumper or whatever, which are, there's many valid ways to pull a tarot card. What I'm going to do today is, instead, when I feel called to stop shuffling or when I'm done talking, I will go through and I will find the Lovers card in this deck. And where the Lovers card is, I will go ahead and look at the card that's right in front of the Lovers and the card that's right behind the Lovers. And that is going to tell us about two forces in our lives that are maybe in duality or appear to be in duality, but that are seeking harmony, are seeking to be in connection, are seeking to be integrated with one another. And so then we can direct our attention this Gemini season or this Gemini new moon to opening the lines of communication between those two forces and creating harmony between those two aspects of the energy in our lives. So I think that is good. I always decide before I'm going to read, I'm not going to read reversals today in this deck. So should there be any cards in this deck that come out reversed, I'm not going to read those today. I often do, but for this deck, for this day, it just doesn't feel like something that needs to be done. So let's find the Lovers. That's funny that Aries should be on top, being one of Venus's lovers. Okay, I'm just going to shuffle through here until I find the Lovers. This deck is so beautiful. Here's the Lovers. Okay, and here's the Four of Swords and Temperance. Very interesting. So we'll just pull those three out, set that deck aside. And so here we have the Four of Swords, which was before the Lovers, and the Lovers, and Temperance, which was after the Lovers. And I love actually how, if you can see, like The energy in the Four of Swords is moving towards the Lovers, and the energy in Temperance is moving the other way, also towards the Lovers. Like she's facing this way and she's facing and leaning this way. Okay, let's take a moment to think about what we see here. So when I think about the Four of Swords, immediately this comes up for me as rest. Taking the time to rest and recharge, to take a break between all of the hustle and bustle of our work and our chores, but also our passions. You know, it's not just the things that we have to do, but also the things that we want to do so much, that we are so passionate about, that can often pull us away from the rest that we need. And Temperance, of course, is one of my very favorite cards. You can think of it kind of as balance, but it's not. I kind of talked about this in my recent talk about the Six of Pentacles. I think I called the video I was pouring from an empty cup. I'll link it down below. Temperance, it's not so much about like balance as in, you know, everything is in a state of balance at perfect peace. It's about achieving ongoing balance by constantly tempering the energy at the center with a little of this, a little of that, right? And so what this is immediately saying to me is that, and you and I may have different relationships with rest, because there are two ways that we can go about it wrongly, I'll say. And I think that's fair to say. I think I can say wrongly. And one of those ways is we can give ourselves too much rest, which has not historically been my problem. Sometimes I get into this too. My problem tends to be I get too passionate about something and I don't give myself enough rest. And I end up sometimes even getting sick because I'm not giving myself enough rest, enough care between all the things that I'm passionate and excited about, and also all the things that I have to do. So we can the Four of Swords can be out of balance in our lives, either by us taking too much time to rest and falling into stagnation. And, you know, we lose the opportunity to make progress towards the things that really matter to us when we use rest in excess as an excuse to avoid that which we are called to do in this life, that which is our true purpose, and that which calls us to it, either by necessity or by passion or desire. And we can sometimes make excuses to silence and to silence or quench our passions or desires, or talk ourselves out of the feeling of responsibility when we are afraid, or when we are, what's the word? The word is overindulgent. I'm tempted to say lazy, but I think the word that I really want is depressed. I think we can drive ourselves into depression by avoiding that which truly makes us feel fulfilled. And the deeper we drive ourselves into that depression and that stagnation, the less fulfilled we feel, and the less we feel like we deserve to do that which fulfills us and like we are worthy of it. So that's the one end of it, is the too much rest. And the other end of it is the feeling like all of these things that we are called to, that we are passionate about, that we are responsible for, are so important that there's just no room at the table for rest. There's just no room at the table for rest with all of the other things that are calling to us every hour of every day. And that is also wrong, especially because even if you just want to think about it from a purely utilitarian perspective, the amount of value that you will be able to bring to this world over the period of your whole life, which is often what's calling us when we're passionate about something or feeling responsible to something, the amount of value that we can bring to this world is much lesser over the period of a life if we shorten our lives by not taking care of our bodies and our minds and our hearts and giving them the rest that we need. And so Temperance is calling us here to integrate rest into our passions and our responsibilities and our lives, in whatever way that looks like, in a truly balanced way, and to really use rest to help us bring our lives into a dance of equilibrium. And so with this reading, I would ask yourself, are you somebody who uses rest as an excuse to avoid that which you are called to and has maybe overindulged in it, or is maybe taking refuge in rest because you're afraid of the responsibilities or the passions that you're called to? And if so, how can you invite and encourage yourself to step into love to achieve a greater balance and to temper that rest, which is no longer recharging you, with action, with passion, with the work of life? And on the other hand, if you are someone who talks yourself out of giving yourself the rest that you truly need and deserve because you feel that all of these other demands on your time and your attention are so important that the rest just has to wait, I would invite you, or Temperance would invite you, to step into love for yourself and for that to which you feel responsible and for that about which you feel passionate, so that you can do your due diligence to yourself, your passions, and your responsibilities by showing up to them well-rested, rejuvenated, recharged with your, let's say, beauty sleep. And beauty sleep can be metaphorically a number of things. It can be literal sleep. It can be physical self-care routines. It can be things that we do for emotional self-care, like journaling or pulling cards for ourselves, making art, playing music, going outside, drinking a beautiful cup of tea. There are all sorts of things that we can do to care for ourselves, to bring this energy back into balance between rest and action. So that is what I would invite you to do based on this reading today. If you want to do this reading for yourself, here are a couple of tips. So if you're using a tarot deck, it's easy. You can do it just the way that I did it, where you go through the deck and you find the lovers and you just pick the card in front of the lovers and the card behind the lovers. For this spread, you don't really have to worry about which is which. It doesn't really matter. It's just two things that you're bringing into balance and bringing into relationship, bringing into harmony, bringing from a place of duality into a place of harmony. So, which one is on the left, which one is on the right, doesn't so much matter. Although I do like that these are all facing each other. If you are reading this with an oracle deck, if you happen to know that that deck includes something like the lovers or the divine twins, you can use that in the same way. Or, you don't have to use a significator at all, or you can use something else to represent the significator. So for example, you could use a little rose quartz crystal, or you could just draw the symbol of Gemini on a little piece of paper or something. Or if you have anything that symbolizes harmony, like I said, if you're using runes, you can use the rune Ewaz. So you can use those as a significator. And then instead of pulling the card on either side of the lovers, since you don't have a lover's card in an oracle deck, or runes, and if you're using runes, they're probably not neatly stacked all in a row unless you have a rune deck, which would be cool. And so in that case, you can just draw two cards the normal way, whatever that normal way is for you. And there are so many different ways to draw cards. In fact, I could do a whole video just about different ways to pull cards for a reading, which might be fun. Let me know if that's something that you would be interested in. So anyhow, I hope that this reading resonated with you and was helpful for you. Let me know down in the comments which type of person you are. Are you someone who tends to take rest to the extreme and maybe overindulge in rest? Or are you somebody who tends to deny yourself rest? Or are you somebody who is actually really good about keeping that in balance and in temperance? Are you really good about tempering your rest with action already, and this wasn't the reading for you? And maybe you're going to go off and do your own reading with this spread. If this message resonated with you, I would love to hear about it in the comments down below. And if you'd like to go deeper, you can always work with me one-on-one. I offer personalized readings that focus on self-discovery, personal empowerment, and paving a path forward towards your dreams, visions, and your highest potential. You can learn more or purchase a session by following the link in the description down below. And if you're craving more cozy witchy vibes, be sure to hit that subscribe button and check out some of my other recent videos. I've been sharing about everything from magical homemaking and kitchen witchery to tarot, magical philosophy, and some of the magic that I make in my junk journal grimoire. And please let me know if you enjoyed this. I would like to do more of these. I used to do like literal daily live stream card pulls over on Instagram years ago, and it's been so long since I did that. I really took a step back from doing that sort of thing, but I was revisiting some of that the other day, and there's definitely reasons that I don't want to go back to doing that. But I did also miss doing readings for the collective and engaging with the magical community in this way. So I wanted to bring it back a little bit, and I thought that doing some readings and some spreads for the different astrological seasons or the different moons. I don't know yet if I'm just going to do the new moons this year or if I might do the new moons and the full moons. Maybe I'll do the new moons this year and then maybe expand next year. Who knows? Anyhow, let me know what you think. I'm so glad that you watched this far. I hope that this was really helpful to you. And if you haven't yet, please do hit that subscribe button so you can catch me later. I do all sorts of magical and tarot related content on this channel. I also do a lot of magically inspired junk journaling, which is why this whole area of my desk is just looking crazy. This is the place where I make my magic. It's the place where I make my art. It's the place where I make my magic that isn't art. It's the place where I make my magic that is art. And it's my pleasure and my joy to invite you into this place. So thank you for being here with me today. Please do give this video ye old thumbs uppus and hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. And it will be my absolute pleasure to see you around in the next video. Thank you so much. Bye bye. You make me feel like a Botticelli, a